I don't know when to stop a client when I said, what's your problem? And they will rattle off and talk and talk and talk and talk. And you just think, well, okay, I don't need to know all that. So without being rude and you know, you said you're going to interrupt, but they just don't stop. You know, there's not even a breath in between. How can you then take those unconscious moments when they're just...
This is why I always love the first demo, because that's the first problem that comes up every time. Who's had that where their client just talks relentlessly? Yeah. And you look at them and think, shit, what the hell do I do with all this information? You know, a client says, I want to quit smoking. And the next thing they're saying, you know, when I was 5 years old, my mother bought me a pair of shoes, and one of the shoes, and you think, where the hell is this going? Like, what the hell? Okay. This is extremely normal. Okay. And you said before, you don't want to rudely interrupt. Sometimes you do have to. Okay. You will learn, guys, to think on your feet where unconscious moments, and I have to avoid them because I don't, otherwise we're just sitting here watching me do it, which is pointless. I want you guys to do it. You get to a point where, and hopefully you guys could attest this, who've done ACH, you hear unconscious moments or see them. They're so blindingly obvious that you just can't help but stop the client and go, whoa, hang on. What did you say there? And they hear and go, oh, shit, my whole life's just changed. Who's had the experience of ACH where the unconscious moments are so obvious now? Okay. Right at the very start, they're going to be invisible. All you're going to hear is just this fluff. And the normal reaction is you're thinking inside your head, shit, how do I stop this? Okay. One thing you can do is you do have to sometimes be a little bit rude and stop your clients. Just say, hang on, wait a second. You just said before that the reason X is happening is because you experience Y. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Does that make sense for now?
Yeah, it's when it's a physical symptom or something and they have to go through well, these are my symptoms and this is why I've got this.
Yeah. You want to do the symptom stuff on the strategy call. Okay. That should all come out on the strategy call. So by the time you get into the session, this is the unique power of doing a good strategy call. Okay. If you do an incredible strategy call, by the time a client comes in, they're already 80% therapized anyway. It's just that last little 20%. Okay. But because we're not doing the strategy call now, it's a little bit more invisible. On the adverse of that, sometimes a client just venting all of that stuff is enough for them to have a breakthrough. Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes the unconscious moments get so hidden in all that conscious fluff, you have to learn how to detect what is what. And that's what we're doing over this 2 days. Okay. So if it's your first time doing it and you're noticing, shit, my client's nonstop talking, good. Because you need to recognize it before we know how to fix it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So is the strategy call on your 100K or on another?
Yes. Well, a lot of people don't realize when I talked about working with smokers, lawyers to quit smoking in 45 minutes, all the wonderful stuff was done on the strategy call. That's why the sessions are so quick, because I knew everything about them. I'd broken down all the knots they were in pretty much on the strategy call. So by the time they come in, there were some clients that would say, I just want to quit. And I go, great, quit. And they go, oh, never thought about it like that. Okay. And they go ahead and quit. And all the other stuff related to it fixes. And then I get a phone call a couple of weeks later saying, the darndest thing has happened. I haven't talked to my mother for 30 years and now we're talking again. What did that have to do with smoking? And I go, I don't know, but it's all interrelated. That's the quality of doing a good strategy call. That's why I'm always against when people say, I don't do a strategy call. I let people book me in over their website. You're just making more work for yourself. I want, by the time my client comes in, all the knots are pretty much untied. They're just like an open canvas. Erickson was big on that too. That's where I stole it from. Okay. The paradox is this. If we look at the traditional way of doing therapy, which is what? Let's go through the timeline. I'll get to your question, Jordan, in a moment. Let's look at the timeline.